Welcome to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast, where your host, Cassandra Crawley helps you break free from obstacles and live life on your terms. Get ready to embark on a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and inspiration. Tune in as we dive into captivating conversations with experts and explore topics that will ignite your passion and drive. Are you ready to unlock your full potential? Let's dive in.
Good day out there to all my listeners, and I'd like to welcome you to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And I'm your host. My name is Cassandra Crawley Mayo. And for those new listeners out there, let me share a little bit about what this podcast is all about. It's for those individuals who, what I call stuck. You know, within your heart of hearts, there's something like your soul is just pulling you to do something like, I don't know, start a business, write a book, start a podcast, get out of a toxic relationship, just a number of things, but you're stuck. You can't seem to get out of your way. So therefore, we talk about topics related to what I call personal improvement, business improvement, personal development. And also, many of these podcasts are going to enable you to do a lot of self-reflection. And my prayer has always been that one day you're going to hear a podcast, you're going to hear a message, you're going to hear a special guest, and all of a sudden, that's all you're going to need to pivot and start executing what it is that you've always wanted to do. Take action. Action's the key. We have to move forward in order to do something. But guess what? We have a special guest on today, and we're going to talk about empowering your success and guiding entrepreneurs and leaders to their full potential. And I'm going to bring her out of the orange room and introduce you to Caroline Biesalski. Hi, Caroline. How are you today?
Oh, hi, Cassandra. I'm so happy to be here. I'm fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. I'm glad you're here. And you know, before we get started, I'm going to share a little bit of your background for my listeners so that they can get an understanding of what and who Caroline is. Well, you know what? She is a determined German consultant and president of Reflection 8 Incorporated. She's recognized for her commitment to empowering entrepreneurs, free thinkers, authors, and innovators. She has a background in accounting and organizational management and community psychology. Caroline brings expertise and heart to her Inspired podcast, spotlighting those who boldly say yes to new ideas. She's a dedicated coach. She guides individuals and corporations from thinking into results toward genuine success. She's known for her unwavering persistence and supportive presence. She elevates both profit and nonprofit organizations to the pinnacle of the recognition that she deserves. So listen, listeners, this is a must-listen episode. If you're ready to learn, really ready to learn from a champion of dreams and practical achievements, here she is. And guess what? She has a newly published book. It's a chronicle of transformation beyond imagination. It's in volume 1, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So, Caroline, what I want to know, and my listeners always want to know, what was your life like before you embarked on a transformative journey? What was life like for you?
Oh, thank you for this question. It's my favorite question. And before I answer that, I want to congratulate you on your podcast. You are so inspiring as well. I listened to some episodes before our interview. So your question was, what was my life like before my transformation? I would say my whole life was a transformation, but it started massively in 2021. When I was asked or introduced to one single question, and that was the question, what do you really, really want? And no one asked me that before, not even myself. So I did not know that I can ask this question to myself and then find the answers to it. And that opened up everything for me.
Wow, that's interesting because, of my listeners and in my book, I talk about living your best life on your terms. And one of the things I always notice, Caroline, when I ask somebody, are you living your best life? And they look at me like, huh? What? So, and not even understanding, like you indicated, what does that look like for me? So how did you determine what it is that you wanted to do?
So you mentioned already I have an accounting background. So accounting and economics was everything I thought I was capable of doing because of my, let's say, heritage. This was what my father was doing all his life, and I felt like accomplishing that. So I created my own accounting company with 6
Uh-huh.
employees. And when I was asked this question, I realized this is not what I really want. It's not what
Mhm.
it's rooted in my heart. It's something like logical, something that is boring. And then now I transform to a totally different life. As you
Mhm.
mentioned it, it is possible once you open your mind to it or your heart. Of course, you have to be
Mhm.
open. And so I closed this company I
Mhm.
had last year. It was only last year, and
Oh.
yeah, and then I started traveling. I came to the US.
Uh-huh.
I was in Los Angeles, and I traveled through 8 states last year, and now actually I am in Colorado Springs.
Oh my goodness. Was traveling something that you wanted to do? You always wanted to travel?
Yes, and I could not do this, or I was not allowing myself to do this because I had a family. I was
Mhm.
in a long time relationship. I was with my partner for 27 and a half years. Imagine
Wow.
this. And I have 2 boys. They are 16 and 18 years old,
Mhm.
but I miss that traveling aspect. Also, joining networking. I would say networking events, but you can imagine like in the personal development world where we can learn something, and then after COVID, let's say, it was
Mhm.
possible again, and then I started all over.
Wow, that's amazing because a lot of my listeners, many of my listeners are ready to move forward. They're in these, I don't know, right now they're feeling the jobs that they're in are mundane. And a lot of us do things because this is what our parents wanted us to do, or these were the things our parents did. So therefore, we feel a certain like obligation maybe to do the things that they wanted us to do, opposed to what we wanted to do, and even didn't even have an opportunity to really think about what it is that we really wanted to do. So what has fueled your growth? What is it about you that just enabled you to just pivot? And what was that to fuel your growth? You sound like you were inspired by something.
Something or someone. Yes, the medium I used and I came across was through my kids, and it's still called TikTok. So they told me, "Oh, you have to join TikTok." It was so much fun. It was during COVID. We had a lot of time
Mhm.
spending at home when we
Mhm.
were in the beginning of 2021, you remember?
Mhm.
And then I spent my whole day on TikTok. And then all of a sudden I came across this man, and I have to mention his name
Sure.
because, yeah, it is Troy R. Chadwick. And he is a great mentor of mine as well. He went live almost every day and talked about changing your paradigm, changing your life. And I did not know what a paradigm is
Right. Yeah.
about. And then he introduced me to Bob Proctor and Bob Proctor's program, Thinking into Results. And when you realize that you can change your paradigm and change your thinking, then a
Mhm.
whole new world opens up. And this allowed me to realize um, each or my dreams. I want to say every single dream I had since then.
Wow.
And I can tell you, this is where I learned English, because English is my second foreign language. You
Right.
have to imagine, really, I started with French and at school, and I was not speaking. So that I can speak with you today is a miracle to me as well.
Oh.
And it was just a decision to say yes to the possibility and to change my life into the person that how I saw myself. And this leads me to the beginning, to your question. What inspired me? It was someone seeing my potential and encouraging me to do the steps necessary to become that person that I am today. So I created Caroline, and I'm happy to speak with Cassandra today.
Oh my gosh. Well, congratulations on your different languages, from German to French to English. Kudos to you. And something else you said is, number one, we all can make a decision. And it sounded like you just said yes. That's all you had to do was say yes. And another thing that was striking is you're on TikTok. And this is a day, particularly depending on what generation one is in, that technology can be frightening because we don't know it, but yet your son, like, look, I'm going to show you some TikTok. And it happened during the pandemic. And that's the same time I started writing my book. So a whole lot of, I say, good things, pros and cons of the pandemic, but it's based on how you think about it, so your perspective was different. And during that time, you're like, look, I'm all of a sudden, okay, I know what I was doing is not what I want to do. And you talked about inspired. You were inspired. I want to talk about how do you define inspired? We hear that word a lot. So I said, well, I don't know. Maybe I want to transform you. I listen to inspirational speakers, so a lot of different things. But I want to know, I know inspired action is the key to turning dreams into reality. But how would you define inspired? Because you said two people, Proctor and the other gentleman, inspired you. What was it that they did or said, or what was it that provided that inspiration for you?
So first of all, it was Troy R. Chadwick from Ele Vitality, and I'm still working with him on a daily basis because he has the daily study group, and we study beautiful books like Master Key System at the moment. So I have to mention this. This is where I learned English. And you asked me, how do I define, or not define? I would say, how do I feel the word inspired? And for me, it is the breath of God. And of course, you can call it God, universe, spirit, or source. Of course, we have so many names. I call it God. It's an energy. It's the frequency of love. And the word inspired has the word spirit in it. So you are in spirit. And there's a famous article for those who want to look it up, Thomas Troward, entering into the spirit of it. That means when you read a book, for example, you can enter into the spirit of the author, and you can ask, what do you want to tell me? So, of course, I studied Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. I do this also on a daily basis. And because it is not about reading 100 books, it's about reading one book 100 times. And then you really enter into the spirit and you understand the essence. And at the end, you become that essence that we all are.
Right. That's awesome. It's like repetition. Like somebody says, I don't want to hear that. I've heard that before. I don't want to hear it again. But yet what you're saying is repetition is good because it kind of gets into your spirit. And and I like that because I exercise, I'm a walker, and I always am very careful to what I listen to. So I prefer to walk and listen to speakers, great speakers, like there's a minister by the name of Miles Monroe, and we all know Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins and all of those folks, but they inspire me. And I see inspire as a multiplier. And I understand you see it as a multiplier as well. What does that mean, being inspired as a multiplier?
Okay, thanks for that question. And I want to add Martin Luther King before I forget, because we studied the speech, I Have a Dream, and it's so important. And one of my goals is to visit that place where the speech was held. I don't know the name, but it's in Washington,
D.C.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Okay. So the question was inspired or inspiration is the multiplier. And that is so true. This is, I would say, another word would be mastermind, infinite intelligence, and the mastermind principle that, or also in the Bible, it says when two or more come together in my name. I don't know this in English, but you know
You're
which
right.
verb I'm referring to. It is the power. It is not, the total is not the sum of its elements. It's more. That means, and I witness this in every single podcast episode. We are doing a podcast now, and you can feel it. It is not two. You and me, two. It is a multitude of inspiration. It is what we give into it, the intention we set, that we want to inspire the audience. And this is an effect, and you cannot buy with money at all.
Right.
You have to feel it.
Right. That's right. When two or more are gathered, God is in the midst. Yeah, that's exactly right. Wow. What inspired you for your podcast? I'm hearing, wow. Now, I am outdone by this. When I read this, I'm like, oh my gosh, you became the most sought out podcast host over the 365 days. Okay, I was going to ask, where did you get the name of the podcast? But I got it now. I understand, because that's what we're talking about, inspiration, right? But what makes you so sought after podcast? And you just somewhat started, right? 365 days. What are you doing differently than many other podcasters?
Exactly. Thank you so much for asking. So I started 12th of December 2023, and it came to me in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. while I was on my road trip in San Diego. I was 4 days in. I love that city. I love the US. I love traveling. I told you this. And having my own podcast was an idea in my mind for over 17 years. You know, we have podcasts for 17 years now, but when I was 15, I wanted to have or host my own radio show, because this was my dream, like hosting guests, playing music, and then have a little talk, or I can inspire the audience. So the name Inspired came by intuition, the podcast as well. And I started immediately because I was guided to do it. And I was a little bit afraid where to find guests at all. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have to do solo episodes. And I was afraid of speaking still 1 year ago. But everyone said yes. And this is when I asked, do you want to be my podcast guest? And this is what I wanted to add, because you talked about universe in the beginning, and the universe, or God, only knows 3 answers. It is whether it is yes, or it is not yet, or it is something better. So you always win, right? When you are on that perspective. So I recorded 590 episodes since then, by the way. And I find my guests on Podmatch, where we met as well. I can recommend this platform because it makes the workflow so easy to record your episodes. Yeah, but the thing is, when you take inspired action, not just any action, it has to be inspired. You have to be guided by intuition. Then everything is in flow and opens up for you in your favor.
That's true. That's exactly right. So that was just an idea that you had. Like many of my listeners have ideas. However, they're not acting on them. Right? Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. And I'm so much like you. When I started my podcast, I was solo. And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to say? I'm not going to have enough to say. Who wants to hear me? Blah, blah, blah. And then finally, I like yourself, I love it. I love inspiring. I love my guests. They bring so much to the table. And I know without a shadow of a doubt that I've had listeners that have acted on those ideas that they've had. And for yourself, I want to know what you think, why you are the most sought out podcaster. What is that about? How do you know that?
Ready to design your dream life? Join Cassandra Crawley Mayo's Create and Design Your Best Life workshop. Break free from self-doubt and obstacles and step into a life of purpose and fulfillment. Click the link in the description to register now. Don't wait. Spaces are limited. Start living your best life today.
I mean, what we talked about this moment. So every episode has like a magical moment in the middle where we are like where the connection is very deep and our minds are together. So you can create this, but only in the present moment, right? You cannot fake it, or you have to experience this. And when you set this intention, then it's like holy, it's divine. And it's about setting the right intentions, and then you receive the right outcome. So I want to encourage your listeners, your audience, to start, but only if you are how's the word, inspired? Yes.
Okay.
If you feel it in the inspiration, if you feel this pull, this attraction to do this thing, it's effortless. Then when you start, yes, it's easy.
Right. So, like the title of our podcast today is Guiding Entrepreneurs and Leaders to Their Full Potential. Let's talk about how do you do that? Methodology that you use to start leading them to their full potential.
Yes. So I like the word guide very much. It's not like teacher or coach or mentor, something like that. And I would say the best way to do it is leading by example. Like you show it. I don't know if you are familiar with this quote, tell the world, but show them first. So you are the leader, you are one step ahead, and you show them by your actions that it is possible, and then they can be inspired to do the same for themselves, because I cannot do the work for you.
Right.
You have to do it. Is the inner work, and then it shapes your outside world automatically.
Right. Let's talk about the 5 mindset shifts to achieve unstoppable success. What are those 5 non-stop mindset shifts?
5 mindset shifts. First of all, you have to be open. So we have this fixed mindset and growth mindset. You have to be willing to learn and to be open, because this is how the ideas came in when you were a child. You were conditioned, right? And how it was because your subconscious was wide open, and it came by repetition when your parents told you to clean your room, do the homework, or brush your teeth, for example. And it's the same way when we want to reprogram ourselves. So we have to open our minds and be ready to receive the new message. Then we have, what do we add? You have to find, or maybe you don't have to find the right coach or mentor, because when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So I assume that the right person to guide you is already in your field. You just have to become aware of that. So it's what I said about it's effortless because it's already here. It's just our awareness that's not here yet. So the third thing I wanted to say is consistency, that you do it on a daily basis. Whatever you do, you set an intention. You can in any field you want, when you want to increase your income or improve your health, or whatever you set the goal to, or the intention. You have to be consistent. That means you show up every day as the person that already achieved the goal. So you ask yourself questions like, how would she act? Or what would she wear? What car would she drive? Or what work? Would she do what she's doing right now still? So it is about not doing compromises, that you really you make a decision for your goal and dream, and then act on it. And it can be a little step, day by day, one step. So what else? We have mind shifts left. And I would say, don't get discouraged when you perceive a setback, because it's not a setback, it's just like it's sinking in, it's processing. I would say it's processing because it's always moving forward if you set the intention to do so it's easy.
Okay. Like you said, follow. How important is it for intuition? They said particularly women are very intuitive. Let's talk about that a little bit because, like, for example, someone sent me a message yesterday about next year, 2025, what to expect in 2025. And I was fascinated. I didn't finish listening to the message, but what I did was I sent it to someone else because intuitively I felt I should send it to somebody else, and then when I did it, I started getting responses. Number one, like, I'm reading it now. Number two, it's kind of long, and then I started thinking, well, maybe I shouldn't have, and that will come in our minds too. We'll do something and then say, well, that's that thing that you said, keep going, don't get discouraged, keep it moving. So what helps me now is that when I have intuitively done something, I don't ruminate in my mind whether I should or should not. And that's what happens to a lot of individuals. Like, I don't know if I should do this. I shouldn't leave that job. I shouldn't travel. I shouldn't, and I'm saying that to say that go with it. Like you said, keep it going, be consistent, don't give up. All of those things, be persistent, be tenacious, and that's something that helps me when I've done something and then in back of my mind later on, I'm like, probably I shouldn't do that. So what I'm hearing you say with those 5 mindset shifts is keep it moving. And it's okay if you make a mistake, so from your perspective, would it be safe to say all the moves you made was intuitive?
No, certainly not. I did a lot of mistakes in the last year. I invested, I lost the money, and but I learned so much. So whether you grow or you learn, and we can also be grateful for all the lessons and learnings, because we can say goodbye and commit that we will never do the same mistake again. And also, mistake is only a perception, so you don't have to beat yourself up or say, oh, I made a mistake. It's a lesson we learn. So always be gentle with yourself, of course. And I can confess, I learned acting intuitively only. I started in 2022. In January, I set the intention. Now I intend to learn how to listen to my inner voice, or to do it more often. And you can, then you learn how to differentiate. You mentioned I would say the paradigm or the conditioning. And of course, when you receive an intuitive thought and you act on it, that your paradigm is rebelling, or I don't know if this word is correct, because it is 2 different types of energy, and it is the comfortable, the uncomfortable, and they are fighting against each other. You have to keep in mind the ego is wants always to protect you and keep you in survival mode or in protective mode. So what you are fighting against, it's like you can say, it's okay, I'll deal with you later. And then your ego is relaxed and you can do what you intend to do.
Right. Tell my listeners, because I know we've all had challenges, but can you share probably a challenge that you had, whereas initially, like, how am I going to overcome this? Just struggle with challenges. And, how do you, some insights onto how you overcame the challenges that you had. If you could explain that, or what was some words of wisdom that you could share with my listeners, because we're all going to have trials and tribulations. We're all going to have challenges. It's always something that's you feel like against you. And I think for many of my listeners, that's what stops them. They're like, okay, I'm done. Talk about how you can overcome. And I know you talk about being intentional and all of that sounds really great, but there are so many people, as you know, struggling, trying to get through this thing so they can move on to the next. Share some of your insight and wisdom on that.
Okay, thank you for asking. I know exactly what you mean, because to have a challenge, to witness one, or to going through a challenge is just a perception. So, and we know that true happiness lies behind your or beyond your greatest fears. You have to face your fears, of course, but how you perceive challenges is up to you. And the word overcome. So I studied a lot of words. You don't have to overcome your fears or challenges. You just rewrite it in the way you would like it to be.
Okay.
And then you focus on that. We all know how this works with affirmations as well. You can write it down 100 times. Some people say it can be easier. Yes, it could. It depends on your belief. So it is done unto you as you believe, of course. So ask yourself, what do you believe? What are your limiting beliefs? Then you resolve this. I know it's easier said than done. I would say, to share this with you today was over 3 years of daily practice. And I'm not done yet. So it's only the beginning, You see, it is a work in progress, a piece of art, so to say, Caroline, I create now. And I want to encourage you because I would not have imagined what this means and who I am today, but it all starts with the first step, with one decision. And once again, will there be challenges and obstacles? Yes, but it's how you see it, what you make of it, how you, I would say what is the word? The meaning you give. The meaning, if you like it, if you dislike it, that shapes your way and your feeling.
Right. Okay. So in other words, right. So change the narrative, right? Like change that, like you said, just change the whole story here. Right. And another thing you said that I want, and my listeners have heard this a lot. You talked about a mentor, a coach, you called a teacher, because you can't do any of this alone.
No, and I can share with you how resistant I was towards the coach, because we in Germany, we are not so familiar or habituated with coaches. So I have to laugh. It's not usual to have a coach and mentor. So I went to the study and I quit 6 times, but I went back. And with quitting, I mean, I attended the sessions every day, and then my ego took over and said, "Now I'm done. I know everything. Yes, I know, and I can proceed." But that's not true, because knowing is not understanding. Knowledge is not power. It's only a potential power, and only if you use it, if you apply it to your life, then that is when the change is happening. Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about, before we got started, about transformation and how individuals that perhaps are on your podcast, how you've seen them transform. What's the art and science behind you being a catalyst for those individuals that have transformed? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's a great question, because we think about who are the listeners, who are the guests, of course, and then you realize they are all just like you. And not only they are like you, they are you. They are former versions of yourself. They also can be future versions of yourself. And then, of course, because you attract, so like attracts like, you attract the people that you have parts of, or parts, they resonate. Let's talk about resonance, of course. So they are all ready to take the next step into a business or into a podcast or both. as well. And so I encourage so many people to start their podcast, to start their business. But I did not know this in the beginning because it was my journey, and I took a leap into faith. I recorded my first episodes just to have fun, to express myself like I never did before. Of course, I have all those limiting beliefs as well in the beginning, like you are not good enough, you cannot compete, or I don't want to compete, but you cannot be as good as the best podcasters also. No, I am not now, but I can set the intention, and in 3 years or so, in 6 years, you never know. Yes,
right.
And this is where persistence comes into play. My favorite chapter in Think and Grow Rich, by the way, persistence is key. You set a goal and you stick to the goal, but never to the plan. So you can pivot along the way, and you learn so much, and now I forgot your question, how I encourage it. It happens through the podcast episode. People are transformed after having an interview with me. I did not know this about me. I found out this gift and talent of mine, and I'm so grateful to live my purpose.
Wow, that's amazing. I have to be a guest on your podcast so that I can continue to transform, because that's just what's happening. The chronicle, transformation beyond imagination. How did that start? So this is an idea, right? And if it's a chronicle volume 1, what's next? And what's next for you in reference to that?
Yes, Inspired Chronicles or Inspired Choice Chronicles, I think. It was just published 1 week ago or so, and I'm so happy because I had the intuition in February already, and I sent out a newsletter. I will publish a book about the podcast, but it was not the first idea was just to publish the transcripts of the episodes, and this is a little bit boring. You just read what is been spoken there, and so it developed into a guide for future podcasters to like how I did it, and I share my methods and how I started and my fears as well, and then I printed some episodes like how can I say this, with 18 guests are featured in the book in volume 1, and there will be many, many more, because my intention is to record at least 1,111 episodes.
Right. And is that your intention? What's the end in mind? Is the intention is not so much the number, or is it the transformation that you will guide individuals in, for those individuals who were guests on your podcast? You know how people like, well, I'm going to do 100 and I'm going to do 500. It's not just the number that you're going to do. What's the intention? What's the outcome for you out of all of those you're going to do? The end result.
The end result, I'm not sure if it will end at all, but I know what you mean. So there are 2 things. The middle term outcome was the Inspired Choice Coaching that I'm offering now for all those who are inspired to jump, because it is about choice. And many people don't know that they have a choice. You mentioned the word decision. It's a little bit similar. You make a decision and everything else falls apart. But having a choice is, I say yes today to a thing, and tomorrow I can say no to the same. So learning how to make a choice. Inspired Choice Coaching. Then the second thing, the big one, the big goal is to have an event with all of my podcast guests.
Okay.
It's like a charity event, where there were a fundraising or something, and I'm working. Or it is a greater vision. It can happen in 1 or 2 years.
Yes,
2 years. Then this is to meet in person, to inspire the world, to make an impact, and to collect funds for a great cause. This is not fixed yet. So
Okay.
I'm waiting for the intuition to come, and then
Right.
I will set it up.
Okay, that's what I call a great end in mind, even though it won't be an end result because it'll be continuing. I like that. And I just want to congratulate you because I've learned a lot from you, but one thing, but I keep hearing intention. And when I asked the question, you are become the most sought after podcast host over the past 365 days. That is part of the mindset as well. It's my intention is it's kind of like when I started this, my intention was I'm going to be one of the top podcast shows because the message is going to be a blessing to many of the listeners that will enable them to start living their best life on their terms so that when it's all said and done, they won't have any regrets. It's like, well done. It's like their cup's going to be running over. There are no regrets that I didn't do this. I wanted to do that because at the end of life, I never knew anybody say, I wish I would have worked harder. I always hear, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have been more true to myself. I wish. So you're on a mission that I call a mission that I can actually see coming to fruition, a mission coming to fruition. So I want to applaud you for that and the wisdom that you imparted on my listeners. And I'm so confident that when individuals hear this podcast, this message right here, they're going to pivot just like you did. Not that I like the thing you like. I don't call it overcoming. I just change the narrative, right? Yeah. So any more words of wisdom? Well, first of all, how can my listeners get in touch with you?
Oh, thank you for asking. They can reach out on every social media platform. I want to mention TikTok first. No, it's a joke. I like Facebook. I like LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. It's whether it is Caroline Biesalski or the Inspired Choice, something like that. You will find me. I also offer free breakthrough sessions calls, like 20 minutes or so. And it is just one idea, it is one idea I can give to a person, and then they can move on. They can take the next step. And it is, I want to give you one thing that helped me a lot. It is
Sure.
about asking for help, asking for support, because I was always perceived as, yes, she's an entrepreneur, she knows everything, she doesn't need help. And then when I reach out to people to ask for help, they don't take me seriously because I never asked for help.
Oh.
So please be courageous and ask for help, because there are so many people out there willing to help. I didn't know this. Really, I can tell you, when you come from a scarcity mindset, you judge the world and you say the world is a bad place or something, then this is what you perceive, right? But
That's
when
right.
you open up and you meet this is why I do the podcast. All the people in my podcast, all the guests are highly inspiring, and this is the proof, the evidence that change is possible. We all want a peaceful world. We all want to see the change, but we overlook that we have to be the change.
Exactly.
Well, that comes from Gandhi, right?
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Well said. Well said. Wow. Well, my listeners, you've heard it. I know that you are definitely inspired to do what that idea that you have in your head, and you're going to be consistent with it. You're going to seek the help you need. And as Caroline said, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So be open to that. Just make up in your mind and your heart that you are going to start taking a step. And I believe a choice is a gift that we were given. So take advantage of the choices that you have. And also, I would say, make a decision and you have to act on it. Again, Caroline, thank you so much for your words of wisdom. And I got to tell my listeners, I say bye for now. God bless. And also, I know that this podcast has been an inspiration for you and you have friends that's going to be an inspiration to them, so I ask that you share it. It will be on all podcast platforms. And if you, another thing, please subscribe, hit like and subscribe. And again, Caroline, thank you so much. And I appreciate you being my special guest. God bless.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you've been enjoying our empowering conversations, make sure you don't miss out on future episodes of Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. Stay in the loop with all the latest episodes. Join our mailing list over at CassandraCrawley.com. And before you go, hit that like button, share with your friends, and subscribe now. Until next time, let's get ready to live your best life.